Here's a typical Sealex machine. Now that's kind of like saying, Kleenex facial tissue. I'm not sure this one's actually branded that. Could just be any one of the minis that were built by other people. But they're all pretty much the same that I've seen in literature. This and another one in storage are the only two that I've ever really gotten a chance to see up close. But this has a 12-station sealing operation, which is much the same as the Eisler table I just showed you a few moments before. And here was a sample that they had run, so that would sit in there like that. The jaws would open and grab it and put it together and go around. By the time it gets all the way around, it was sealed. And then you'd take this, and these here exhaust ports would go in upside down like that, and it would go around, and as it would go through the stations, different things would happen. They would, actually I think it goes around the other way. They would begin with a very rough vacuum, and then begin RF bombardment heating, and progressively more and more, and they would light the filaments effectively. And up underneath this portion would be the connection that the filaments would be heated. And it would go around, and then it would get to the end, and it would actually be sealed and plucked off, and then it would fall down a tray into a little indexing table here. It would load them up, sealed, nice and ready to go. They're not practical machines to run. You get a lot of loss. Traditionally, it's far better off to manufacture tubes on a station like the one here, just a stationary machine, because you can control each individual tube. And here you got to set up all the flames just right, and then of course someone turns on another machine and the pressure changes and everything all goes to pot. Also, this requires a lot of pumps. The way these machines index, they're kind of like a tank turret. There's a series of seals in there, which of course always would go bad, I would imagine. Just simply connected with gum rubber tubes. So there's really no way you're ever going to get down, in the actual tube, much below 10 to the negative 4 millimeter mercury on these. It's just not going to happen. They're not on the thing long enough. They're relying on the barium of the getter to really do it. The first stages have these big lobular pumps, because all they're doing is just sucking air all day long. This thing probably sounds like a freight train going through when it's running. Hence these big filters on the outlet to probably muffle and keep the oil vapor from the pump from going all over your shop. And then progressively they get the 4 pumps get smaller until eventually, what are these? These may be Senkos here, I'm not sure. And they have a small 2-inch diffusion pump. That's really all you need. And then the final stage is just a Welch 1402, it looks like, which is kind of the standard for just about everything. And then that's into a into nothing right now. It's been borrowed. The final stage appears to have been borrowed off of this machine, but anyways, it'd just be a dummy stage. So yeah, it probably would have been an impressive thing to see, but probably got terrible yield on these sorts of things. It was never really run here in any serious capacity. It's far better off to use a stationary machine like these. Everything's smaller, more efficient, and this particular unit does eight tubes at a time, and you can control individually, the stages of operation and RF bombardment, and do something, and then watch your pressure gauge, make sure everything comes back down to normal before you go on with the next step in the process, and no leakers or anything like that. So, anyways, it just gives you a quick shot. There's another intermediary step. And that would be this style of machine over here. Now this was primarily used for X-ray tubes here, but there's no reason why it couldn't be used for other things. It's kind of semi-automatic in that each station, sorry it's so dark back here, I can try to see if I can, let me see if this light works here. There we go. So each station has a Welch 1400 backup. Can't really see it. Back up under there, there's the nameplate. And a a little consolidated, little mini pump, diffusion pump on it. And then an all-in-one control here, you know, loading, roughing, diffusion pump, and then if it's a gas-filled tube, you know, something to a gas manifold. And they would be set up individually. And these here are these nice little hoods that have a heating element in there to individually come down and bake out each tube, and a nice little compression port there. And there's a bus bar that runs across here that can provide the filament voltages, and I'm not sure if this one was set up to do automatic RF. I see coils. I'll have to ask Ronnie tomorrow if that was ever done, but I would imagine the way they do things, they probably just went along with a handheld induction coil and probably induction heated each one as they went along. But just a way to do more of them, and these are all pneumatically controlled up and down. You could do them and then set a timer, and you know, and then run kind of in a semi-automatic fashion, but still be able to do something nice. But plenty more manual exhaust stations here, and even a couple hiding back here. So if anyone has any interest, all of these are pretty much the same. I'll give you a little detailed close-up on one here. They pretty much have a valve steering for the roughing, and the fine pumping. And here's the main valve to the diffusion pump down below up into a manifold. And like I said, none of this stuff is gonna be super high vacuum level. You know, most of these types of pieces and fittings, if you have your wits about you and making it, are good enough. This one we took the back off of. Once again, sorry it's dark, but pretty much a basic Welch 1402. And a small 2-inch diffusion pump, and that's about all she wrote. And then up here, this is a type of BA ion gauge that the founder Harold Omer liked to make, and they work pretty good. And they match up. He made them match up to the what are these, Vico or Senko, I forget. What are these? You see the Senko ionization gauge controllers up here. There's actually a big pile of Vico controllers out back, but I don't know if any of them are any good. And then a series of thermocouple gauges made. These are all leftover ones from Vacuum Tube Products, which was Harold's company previous to going to Hughes. So these are nice. They you know, heat up fast, pump fast, and you can cycle a batch of tubes through every you know, probably hour and a half, 2 hours or so. Wouldn't want to push it anymore. You'd be cheating the bake out. And then on the larger tubes, most of these stations are made out of parts from leak detectors. They're perfectly good, but they have larger. You really can't see that. Larger pumps. This happens to be a 6-inch pump, and they use these Key or Vico bellows valves, which work pretty good. This one has a little more. This is the front taken off of it. So yeah, this one's that's a smaller pump. That looks like a 4 or 5-inch pump back there. But I know this system also has a little booster pump on it down there, which I fired it up. I don't think it made that much of a difference, but this doesn't put much gas through these things. These are only evacuate a few liters volume at a time, and they take a long time. Multiple ports there for the various things made, and another setup just like it over there. So anyways, like I said, everything is available. We're downsizing this shop to a much smaller shop to concentrate on just a few things, with the exception of a few of these machines, that one over there and a few others. The rest of it's pretty much available. So just go ahead and contact us and let us know. That's vacuumtubefactory.com. 2U's, VACUM tubefactory.com. Alrighty, thanks for watching.